Hello, my name is Todd McLaughlin. I'm here at Native Yoga Center in Juno Beach, Florida. And today I want to give you some tips and tricks on how to practice a pose called Supta Kurmasana, sleeping turtle posture. Supta can reference sleeping or supine, and Kurma references turtle or tortoise. Supta Kurmasana, sleeping turtle pose. Sleeping turtle is an advanced yoga asana. It requires incredible flexibility in the hips, the knees, the spine, the shoulders, and it is not an appropriate pose for everybody. However, I can show you a way that almost everybody can practice Supta Kurmasana. Now, this is given that you have the ability to sit down on the floor. If we are to turn this into a very beginning class, like a chair yoga, then yeah, I probably would just not use Supta Kurmasana. In the Ashtanga primary series, we have Supta Kurmasana comes after Kurmasana. So we do turtle pose, sleeping turtle, then sleeping turtle pose. So the easiest way to begin with Supta Kurmasana is to sit on the floor, bring your feet together in a foot prayer style position, and to just first see if you have the ability to sit and start to bring your body forward. Now, another way, if you have a difficult time holding here, you maybe need to lean back on your hands and just really start to relax your hips so that they go into this external rotation position. I'll show you a couple stretches you can use to warm up for Supta Kurmasana. However, in the beginning, the most basic element is to bend your knees, feet together, knees apart, hands go under the ankles so that your palms are face up. Think like you're trying to scoop, like you're digging a sandcastle and you went under with a big scoop. Try to scoop under your ankle bones and see if you can weave your arms through. And then here we're just simply starting to bring the body down more and more so your head comes down toward the feet. And you can think of like a turtle that brings its head and arms and legs into a shell. This pose mimics the turtle or the tortoise when it goes to sleep. It pulls its head in. And so here we have this sleeping turtle pose. So this is how I teach sleeping turtle in all my beginning level classes. And then we have sleeping turtle according to the Ashtanga method. So a sleeping turtle, the main area, there's a lot of different things that we have to take into account here, but the main area that we got to be very careful of is our SI joints. The sacroiliac joints are the junction on the back where your sacrum, the triangular bone that comes down here in the back of your low back, your hips, where it joins the ilium, which is your hip bones. This iliac crest or ilium is the part of your hip that makes up like the two sides of your hip joints. Your sacroiliacs are here. So if you have sacroiliac dysfunction and or low back pain, do not go any further. Everything I'm about to show you, do not do if you have back pain. All right, so the way to practice sleeping turtle in the beginning is just to let your hips open and slowly implement forward flexion motion at the junction of your hips and in the relationship of your femurs to your pelvis. There is an anterior tilt that is happening. You're flexing. And also what happens with your spine is we're going into a strong flexion position as well. So if you have herniations in your lumbar spine, if you have herniations anywhere along your spinal column, you're going to need to approach Supta Kurmasana more like this. And I'm speaking from experience. I've been practicing Supta Kurmasana for over 20 years. For a really long time, I've been putting my legs behind my head every single day in Supta Kurmasana. I have developed back pain. I have had to completely pull back from Supta Kurmasana, and now I practice Supta Kurmasana on the more regular basis like this. I'm being very careful not to over compress my disc space. I'm 50 years old now. I'm not 20 anymore. Things change. Please bear this in mind. I don't want to just demonstrate advanced technique to you. have you not be ready for it and have you hurt yourself. I want you to be safe and sound, and this is really important in my opinion. So let's start off. When you start practicing Sleeping Turtle, see if you have the ability to just gently fold forward. Now, if we were turning this more like into a yin yoga practice, we can practice Supta Kurmasana or Sleeping Turtle in a way like here. I have a very I don't have a bolster to demonstrate with you right now, but I'm going to pretend that this is a bolster. I can take the bolster and kind of fold it up on my front body. So I have a little bit of a cushioning to lean on. I could even take a block like so and bring my forehead down and just rest my head. And we could hold here in a Sleeping Turtle position and slowly let the body acclimate, not do any damage, go really chill. All right. Now, the next part of this tutorial, I'm going to start to break down what goes down or what happens for those of you that are really into trying to master Supta Kurmasana. Supta Kurmasana is taking the legs behind the head and wrapping the arms around behind the back. So the first part I want to focus on is the flexion piece. So the pose that precedes Supta Kurmasana, which you can find my video, how to do Kurmasana. You can go back and work on the Kurmasana. Now the Sleeping Turtle, we start to take the arms back behind the legs. That's the part I want to talk about here now. All right, so what's happening with this, when you go for this motion, it's an internal rotation with your shoulder, elbow flexion, and basically your arms are going to come behind your back. I'm going to turn my back to you so you can see. Your arms are going to be going around, elbows bending, and they're going to go behind the back and potentially catch like this on your back. So what that means is that you are putting really strong internal rotation pressure on your shoulder while, the arm is being pulled back. It can feel great. It can also be really intense on the shoulder. So all of my students who have shoulder issues, shoulder pain, there's a million names I could throw at you of different type of diagnoses for what type of shoulder pain there is. However, we're going to just focus on the word pain, shoulder pain. Please be very careful with this. That's why bringing the arms forward is a really good way to kind of eliminate the intensity of the internal rotation traction stretch that happens in the shoulder joint. So now how to even get to that, or how do we start working toward it? Part of the idea is you bend your knees like I am here now, and you take your arms, and we do need to have the ability to come through the legs and to be able to have the shoulder get close to the knee. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to lean over on one side, bring one arm under, and the key is to try to get the shoulder as close to the knee as possible, as far under as possible, and then I can bring my hand behind my back. So that's part of the first thing, and what you can start doing is just working one leg at a time. I'm going to go for my left side, left hand, left leg. I'm leaning over to my right, taking pressure here, so this is loose, coming down underneath, and then trying to bring the hand all the way on the back. So this is the beginning phase. Normally what we see on the daily, is like when we're just learning this. And this is such a deep yoga pose. I want to treat this like you're an absolute beginner. We really don't want to try to go any further in the posture than if you're able to get your elbow under and your hand going back by your hip. That's actually really important. If you're going to take your arms under, well, what will happen is you'll try and it's just not going to go that way. I can try to rotate my shoulder here, but my arm can't go anywhere because I still have pressure against the back of my elbow. The only way I can get my elbow to start to bend like this is if I can get my arm further under. Then when I rotate the shoulder internal rotation, you can flex your elbow, and I'll turn to the side so you can see. I'm leaning over to my right. I'm taking my left arm under my leg. I'm trying to bring my shoulder as far under as I can. If I get stuck here, I can't really bend my elbow. But once I have enough range of motion to get my elbow underneath, then I can internally rotate, turn the palm up, and the hand can come by the hip. So one way to approach the Sleeping Turtle, after we've gotten to the point where we can come forward like this, I have my feet separate. And this is important because if you try to bring your arms through with your feet together, you've narrowed the space. It's tighter. It's a tighter space to try to climb through. So we want to open this space up. And then you can take your arm and go under. Now the key, again, watch, I'm going to take this leg and I'm going to pull it in. So it's really easy for me to lean over on this hip. Now I've got a whole lot of room to play around with trying to get this arm under. And then let me turn again so you can see. I come all the way under. Now I can bend my elbow and bring my hand by my hip. What I would next try to do is now lean all the way over onto my left leg. Look, I'm leaning on my elbow and my leg. I'm going to take my right arm. I'm going to open this space up here. And I'm going to send the right arm through, all the way through, all the way through. Bend the elbow. Now my hands are back by my hips. I can lean side to side to walk my feet together. And now I'm in a variation of Supta Kurmasana where my arms are going back and my legs are going forward. And so this is the next sort of position of the Supta Kurmasana. All right, so that might take a couple of years to get that to open up. No joke. Don't rush. What's the hurry? I can promise you, you will not hit a higher level of enlightenment just because your pose goes a little deeper. You can hit a higher level of enlightenment, in my opinion, by honoring your edge and taking care of the body you have and not trying to compete with anybody else to make your pose look cool. And I'm speaking this from my own ego going through these challenges and learning the hard way. So I'm just trying to impress that upon you. All right, so now I'm going to turn a little this way so you can see what I can do. Now watch, I'm going to take a strap. I'm going to put the strap back around the area that I might be able to use it. I'm going to try to go to where I was before. I lean over to one side. I take one arm under. I bring it under. I internally rotate. I get my hand near my hip. I roll over to my left side. I take my right arm. I weave it under. I try to bring my hand near my hip. Okay, I know I put a strap back there. There it is. I'm going to grab the strap with both hands or both sides. Uh-oh, I lost it. There it is. I'm going to take my hands a little closer together, holding the strap nice and tight. Now I can start to work the feeling of having the bind behind the back by putting something in between my hands. So that's one way you can start to work the bind. Now, the way I learned Supta Kurmasana was that you do not put your legs behind your head until you can get your hands together behind your back. That is really challenging to do, all right? So, I mean, to be realistic, these poses are advanced yoga asana, advanced, meaning maybe it takes practitioners 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know how long. Sometimes people are just born with the flexibility and they seem like it's lucky. That doesn't mean you'll be able to do it your whole life though. Right now I'm able to grab my hands behind my back. I can catch my hands around and then I can bring my feet all the way together and bring the head down toward the feet. So this is another way to practice the sleeping turtle. The idea though is that my hands right now are not touching. I'm not going to climb the foot up onto the left leg to bring the head down. I'm going to keep my feet apart and work the hand ability first. This is important. This makes sense later on when you get into second series and there's a whole bunch of leg behind the head poses. We're learning this pose here because of the challenge aspect of trying to climb through the legs with gravity pulling us down. Later on, we'll start doing the same exact poses. There's a whole bunch of different poses where you do the exact same thing. You have your legs going behind your head and you're laying on your back, or you are sitting up with your legs behind your head. Now, we've worked on what the shoulders are doing. Now I want to point out what the hips are doing. All right, so with the hips, we are practicing what is called an external rotation. And the knee is going to be in a state of flexion. So sometimes we'll see people warming up for Supta Kurmasana by going into the hamstrings and trying to stretch the hamstrings with the leg going behind the head or going in this direction of behind the head. It's not really so much about hamstring flexibility though. The key ingredient really is this external rotation position in the hip. So a classic position is the warm-up for what's called Ekapada Rajakapotasana. That comes up in third series in Ashtanga. But this pose is utilized in a lot of vinyasa and or yoga classes around the world, in all level classes. And this one is where you put your pressure on your leg, and this is opening the hip into the same angle that you're going to use when you start to try to go into Supta Kurmasana and put your legs behind your head. So a good research posture, my teacher Tim Miller would call them research postures, poses that you can do to kind of prepare for the incredible depth that putting legs behind the head requires. Now, some people's hips and femurs and everything are set up to make that easy. And some people, some of our skeletal alignment, no matter how much we try, putting legs behind the head should never be done. And I say this from working with thousands of people over the last 20 years and learning what works and what doesn't. And we don't want to create injury in the name of creating a yoga pose. So my suggestion is just to work in this nice, simple, easier style of just letting the feet touch together and bringing the head down. And you can access working into the hip flexibility through Baddha Konasana. This one is a good one for preparing the legs to be able to be more flexible in this range of motion. The one that I showed you working into the one leg king pigeon preparation stretch where you put the pressure on the hip here. And also this one that is, sometimes you'll hear it called like rock the baby, or it's not an official, I don't think there's an official Sanskrit name for this pose, but it's more of like a way to just kind of prepare. And then yes, working the arm under and kind of working the wedge of the leg back. Another classic one in the standing pose is where we're in a side angle position, kind of like when we go into extended side angle. But part of the idea is to come down and come through the leg and bring the head down toward the ankle. This is a really good prep pose for legs behind the head. And, you know, I learned it by having someone pull my legs behind my head. And I'm very careful now from working with students that had back pain, from my own back pain. I'm very conservative in my approach to bringing legs behind the head. I don't think it serves any purpose, to be very honest with you. If you can do it, great. But if you can't, great. And just like do the best you can. That's my message for you today. Just do the best you can. Go for the best you can and be content with your best. And right now, my best today is going about, I'll go to this one right now today, because I know how not warmed up I am for this video. I'm not going to push it. I don't want to hurt all day and not be able to move, right? So I just want to bring this up because I want to be real. I want to tell you the facts. And I can do a further tutorial more on the leg behind the head piece. But I think for today, so I can cover the basics of the setup and to also really encourage you to feel your body and let the yoga pose be something that you feel comfortable in. Remember, Patanjali says a yoga posture should be stable and comfortable, not painful and exertive. Now, I know that's an interesting dynamic in Ashtanga Yoga because we are exerting a lot of energy and a lot of like heat and intensity. But keep it chill, listen to your body. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. I love responding to students' inquiries. Thank you so much. Hit the subscribe button, the bell to be notified every time I release a video. I'm here every single Thursday, 11:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. Go to my website, nativeyogacenter.com. You'll find all of my resources located there. Thank you. Have a great day.